Hey everybody, Casey Currie here, episode 16 of Where To Next. I got myself, Kyle Chandler, and Aaron Quesada, and tonight we're gonna go a different route. We're gonna call Johnny Greaves. He's been a Monster Energy teammate of mine for over 10 years now. Actually, when I signed on to Monster Energy, first race I went to, I didn't even have stickers for my truck. And Johnny actually gave me the stickers to apply to my truck. Actually, funny little story real quick. The reason that if you actually look at all my pro lights and all my short course racing, I always slanted my the M, like the Monster Claw, on my door. It actually had nothing to do with it looked cool on the truck. It actually is because it was Johnny Greaves' Pro 4 sticker, and it didn't fit, and we didn't want to trim the M Claw. So if I laid it sideways, that was the only reason, and from then on, I was like, oh, it actually looks pretty cool. I'm just going to run that, and that's where my slanted M came from. It had nothing to do with the logo. It actually was because when I got logos from Johnny,
it was the perfect size.
It was the perfect size,
or their only size.
And literally, that's where it began. So pretty well. Johnny Greaves has won many championships. He is basically raced in all organizations in the short course. You know, came up in the motor world, and, you know, from when I started racing until now, he's still one of the craziest, gnarliest competitors out there, you know, from Wisconsin. When we were racing back east in the Wisconsin area, we'd go back to his place, ride jet skis in the lakes.
Did you ever race against him personally?
I never raced against him. I raced against CJ, so we had some epic battles in the past, but CJ started racing... I don't even know what year he started racing, but he basically got into it when I was probably 2 or 3. He was a little bit behind me, but then he went straight up to Pro 2, Pro 4, and then I moved on to some off-road stuff. But he obviously had some major success in Pro 4 as well, winning a championship there. I don't know if he ever won a championship in Pro Light, so we'll have to ask him. But let's get Johnny on the phone and see what he's got going on.
Hello.
Hey, Johnny, it's Casey Currie.
How's it going?
It's going good, man. You're on my podcast with Aaron Quesada and my media guy, Kyle Chandler.
It's going down, Johnny.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
How was your drive?
My drive up north?
Yeah.
It was awesome. Anytime you can get out of the house, it's awesome.
That is true in these days.
Yep.
So my podcast is all about where to next. I'm not obviously we want to know a little bit about Johnny Greaves as past, but for myself, I'm about adventure, traveling, and exploring. And you've got a lot going on. I keep track of everything you've got going on social media. But obviously, you've won a lot of races. You've done a lot in short course racing and a bunch of stuff. But lately, I've seen you. Obviously, there's a new short course series. I just saw some announcements today, and you also have your own side-by-side racing. Wanted to just get a little brief of what you got going on.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, with the growth of side-by-sides, you know, we just recognized the need for like a standalone side-by-side series, and nobody was really doing that at the level that I thought you could do. And, you know, I think 3 years ago we did a single race, and just to see how it go and touch base with all our sponsors. They all, you know, let's call it pitched in to see how it would go, and it went over really well. We live streamed it and had a huge purse and had a great turnout, and you know, then after that, the wheels started turning, and I said to myself, well, you know, everybody says that, you know, the side-by-sides are cool, and they get a great numbers, you know, entry-wise and everything, but it's just not what the fans want to see. And, you know, I disagreed, you know, in this area, people are wanting a little different, you know, and there's a lot more things that they call entertainment, you know, like just compared to West Coast, you know, there's just so much going on. There's concerts, and there's, you know, there's just stuff going on every weekend. Out here, there's just not a lot going on. Like the summer isn't full. There's music festivals and off-road racing and stock car racing. You know, it's kind of limited. So I felt there was room for something like this, and decided to start my own series. And you know, we were able to come up with a purse that's second to none compared to any other series, and it's going over great. I mean, our idea was just to do something different. You know, we call it King of the Elements, and the reason for that is we take these things and we do so many multiple disciplines, from ice racing to woods racing to short course to flat track on dirt. You know, they're just a cool vehicle that can do so much, and it's like, well, why not showcase what they can do and see who can do it all, you know? And so that's kind of the road we went down, and it's going really well. The sponsors like it, the teams like it, and you know, we're getting great fan turnout. I mean, we're getting 2,000-3,000 people at every event, which I didn't even think would happen. You know, I would have been happy for 1,000, 1,500 people at an event, but now we're actually starting to look at venues where we can handle more people.
That's awesome. You know, it's funny how you said the side-by-side. One thing that I noticed is, like, I agree, when you go to a short course event and there's Pro 4s and Pro 2s running, when you put the side-by-sides on the track next to them, you know, yeah, they don't make the same sound and they're not going as fast. But if you don't bring the Pro 4s and the Pro 2s, the UTVs can put on such a great show. Like, for me, you know, you go to like the Mint 400, the King of the Hammers, stuff like that. Like, yeah, you get all these Ultra 4s or trophy trucks that kind of just put, you know, more of a shine over the side-by-side. But then, like, the UTV World Championships, right? It's only UTVs. That, I mean, for us on the West Coast, it's the only event that it's only side-by-sides. And same thing, like, it's awesome. It's one of my favorite events that I went to in 2018 or 2019 when I went, just because it's there is no trophy trucks to be the show. There is no Class 1 buggies. It's just side-by-side. So every class, every division they have, it was a blast to be a part of. And for myself, racing, like, it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was, you know, that was my exact plan is it's like, it's got to be standalone, you know, like you said, you run a couple side-by-sides, and then there's Pro 4s or Pro 2s after that. It kind of looks like slow motion, you know, but when you put these guys on the right size track, you know, everything configured based on that vehicle, you can make them put on a really good show, and you get the right amount of talent and everything. And honestly, it's pretty fun. I mean, I never thought I would enjoy just being a spectator and watching it, but you know, I'm out there running it, but I'm also in the infield, and I'm like getting all giddy inside watching these races. You know, the mod guys these days are really getting after it. I mean, they're getting up there and close to Pro 4 times. I think they're equaling Pro 2 times, you know, but
Crazy.
I think it's really relatable, though, too. You know, all the people that own a side-by-side, they can sit there and relate. And I think what's even where they even is going to help grow the participation is, you know, they're like, oh, I could do this. You know, I have my side-by-side. I can tweak it a little bit here and bring it out and come and race it. So I think it is a really relatable to, you know, the general public that, you know, has never been in a race truck before.
Yeah, that's totally it. I mean, around here, I saw it in snowcross. You know, when snowcross first became somewhat mainstream, I mean, everybody was doing it because you could go buy one at your dealership. Anybody can ride a snowmobile, right? So you go buy helmets and gear, and you're a snowcross racer, you know. And it's a pretty big series around here, and it got so crazy for a while they were turning people away, you know. So side by sides I see kind of following that same line, but I don't see it. You know, snowmobile riding racing in general is real limited, right? Because you need snow,
cold.
You need cold weather. Yeah. A side by side, we can do it in the winter on the ice, and then we can do it all summer. There's like zero limitations to these things right now. So, you know, that's where it was a perfect fit for me, because I have the the off-road series that we got to do, from June through September. And I said, well, why can't we do this side-by-side series? We'll start it off in, March and May, and then we'll pick it up again, in September and October, because it really doesn't matter, and honestly, once, local racing shuts down and all stock car racing shuts down around here, everybody's looking for stuff to do. So they don't mind standing out in the cold or the rain or whatever to watch these things do whatever they're willing to do. And honestly, these guys, they're willing to do it all. I mean, the only thing I haven't thrown in yet is like a mud pit. That might be one of my next tricks.
That's awesome.
I really like the concept of all the different elements.
Me too.
I think that's really sweet.
I know Casey was chomping at the bit to come one of our races.
I was.
And you were saying you really wanted to do one of the winter ones, and the one we just got done with in March. I mean, we did at it's hard to imagine, but there's a place up here called Eagle River World Championship Snowmobile Derby Track, and this place was built just for snowmobile racing on an ice oval. So if you can picture like a dog track or a football stadium, wrapped around indoor seating, and there's this ice oval, right? And then, so we incorporated that ice oval, and then we went into the infield, and we made jumps out of snow, and then we froze them. We covered them with water, for a week, and we froze the snow, and not knowing how it was going to work, and it actually held up, like, for 3 days. It wasn't until the very end, and it got really warm that weekend that it started breaking down. But even then, it was cooler than heck because, we had potholes and whoop-de-doos of snow because it was just breaking down so much. It made it such a cool event, and the fans just loved it.
That is awesome. Now, as far as your organization, I know we talked a little bit about it, but I mean, do you have to build a full custom race car, or I mean, can people? If I bought a unit, or brought my Can-Am, can we run it? Do you have to put a fuel cell in it? Do you got to put a cage?
Yeah.
on
What
it?
rules do you guys abide by, or do you just make up your own rule book?
No, we basically follow along the same lines that short course racing does. Safety guidelines. A decent cage, window nets, seat, good harnesses. It's more safety than anything. So, yeah, you can't come out with a brand new stocker, so to speak. But for $3,000 roughly, you can have a cage and seat and belts, and you're qualified for racing. And in my series, we still allow working doors, which a lot of them don't allow. We just require you to have them fastened shut, and because there's so many guys out there that still use these machines for other things when they're not racing. So, they don't want to be crawling in and out of the window. So, we
Just
still
makes it
allow
cost
that.
effective though too. It makes it easy to get everyone out there.
Yeah. So we did the 1 year we did it. We started with we call it Trail Warrior class, and we eliminated the jumps, and it was bone stock cars. Like if you had stock seats, stock belts, everything. I think the only thing we made them have was the window net, so your arms would fly out, and wouldn't let them hit the jumps. And I thought, this will be fine. How much trouble can it get in? There was more rollovers in that class than there was in all the others.
That's
so
where all the carnage comes in.
Yeah, we had to axe that class because it got a little out of it. These trail guys, they're out there in jeans and hooded sweatshirts, and they want to win worse than the pro guys.
How many Yamaha Rhinos did you get out there on that one?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was definitely entertainment.
So you ever think you'll bring it out west?
What's that?
Do you think you'll ever bring it out west?
As far as my series?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it anytime soon. I mean, I would love to. Honestly, I thought about trying to incorporate something similar to what King of the Hammers is, because that's something we can't do around here. I mean, we don't have desert and canyons and cool rocks like that, So, that's in the back of my mind to do that. But
that'd be fun.
The one thing the one thing I'm very concerned about is you gotta grow the series, and you gotta grow your drivers with the series, and it's all gotta make sense. You can't just, we got a cool thing, so we're gonna go to Texas or California, and then it kind of fragments itself. So we're just kind of taking it baby steps and working with the group that we got, and who knows what'll happen in the future. If it grows and gets bigger and it makes sense to do something like that, I'd love to do something like that. But
so you guys did your winter race so far, right? And then you have 2 more for the rest of the year?
No, we do 4 total. So we did the winter race. Our next one is scheduled in June. It's a full-blown, just regular short course race. Whether that's going to happen or not, it remains to be seen. We're kind of just still holding off to see what kind of guidelines and where we're at that point. So I'm guessing we're probably going to have to, reschedule that race. But yeah, and then we pick up in September after Crandon. We go to this really cool dirt track oval that's near us, that quarter mile, and the whole thing is banked. And we're going to put side-by-sides out there. And like I told everybody, you guys know me, it's not just going to be an oval. There's going to be something else. So, I might put I might stack a bunch of junk cars in the middle, and you got to figure out how to climb over them or something. I don't know. But
now, do you and CJ actually cool. Participate in race as well?
Do I?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I strictly just run the series, and CJ is the same. He would love to be a part of it. I mean, him and I go and design all the tracks and lay them out. And like almost every track we do, every style racing, we incorporate a split lane because, it's just I just think it's the coolest thing when you can have a split lane, because you always get, 2 guys dicing, and when they come to that, one always splits off, and it always ends up being pretty cool. So him and I, work on that really hard, no matter where we go, what style racing is. We add a split lane, and we take 2 cars out there, and we run the track until we get it perfect. A guy can take either or, and they're even, but if you better the guy next to you, you come out ahead of them. So, and the other thing is, it just doesn't seem right, to be the owner/promoter and the owner's kid, and you know how that would go.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, his every time his car passed tech, there would be a bunch of crap. So it's easier just to leave it the way it is, and let these guys do their thing, and hopefully build a series to something really big, and go from there.
That's awesome. So now on to the Pro 4 thing. What is the plan for this year? I see there's a whole new series now.
Yeah, so a company called iSock, which is the owners of the Snowcross series I was talking about earlier, they've taken it over, and it's kind of funny because these guys have been chomping at the bit to be a part of Midwest Short Course for at least 4 years now that I know of. And for some reason, and I really don't know, they've always gotten pushed aside, and somebody else comes along and runs it for a year or two, and whatever, they get shoved out, or they decide to bail out, or whatever the case may be. So finally there's an opportunity here, and I got sick and tired of what I feel I keep kind of doing the wrong thing for what we are. And I called all the tracks, and I said, I want you guys to at least meet or go on a teleconference with Carl and listen to what he has to say, because his Snowcross series does really well. They got good sponsors. They got a good TV package. They do everything right. And they took that series on after it was failing, and Snowcross was basically going to be gone, the following year if somebody didn't pick it up. And a guy named Carl Shabitsky, a young guy, I used to race snowcross with him. He took it on with a financial backing from his partner, and now it's super successful, you know. And so here's this group that puts on snowcross races, and you know, they have all this equipment and they have their own production company and everything, you know, kind of a smaller version of what Lucas does. And you know, they don't do anything all summer, and so it's like the perfect fit. And I keep racking my head, like, why didn't this happen a long time ago? Because this is an ambitious young guy, and the company is there. It's all developed. The sponsors are there. Everything's there. They're a Minnesota-based company, so they're right here in the Midwest. I mean, how much better could you ask for? So it finally all came together, and I'm really excited about it. It's too bad that, you know, the pandemic is going on at the same time. This is all trying to develop, but they're still, you know, super positive. I talked to them the other day. We're still kind of leaning towards getting started in June with Crandon. If it happens, it may be very limited spectators or maybe no spectators. I don't know, but you know, as a professional racer, I just let them know that, you know, we need to go racing. Casey understands this. Yeah. I mean, we need to give our sponsors what they paid for, and that's being on the racetrack. So, you know, even if it's without spectators, we can still do a great live stream. You know, maybe you charge for the live stream, and you know, cut it up with the track or whatever. You do what you got to do to get by right now, because everybody's got to make adjustments. You know, we're making adjustments. Track's got to make adjustments. Series got to make adjustments. We all got to work together and just get this thing back on track, so racing doesn't go away. Because my gut is, if you let it sit too long, they're gonna lose interest. They're gonna find other things to do. It gives people a reason to think of other ways to spend their money. And we don't need to let them do that. So we need to just get it going.
Well, even with these, like you said, with the live stream, I think it's really cool that, you know, the technology has come so far, and live streams in the past, they kind of sucked. They were just really glitchy, and the stream would suck. And so it wasn't really appealing to watch. And, you know, we talked to Dave Cole the other week, and Dave has done an awesome job with the live stream with King of Hammers. So it's cool that other series are finally starting to, I think, embrace and utilize a live stream to, you know, get it out there. I think it's going to reach way more people. It's just going to help benefit and grow the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all know that right now, you know, your phone and your computer is your best friend. Nobody's watching much TV anymore. So I think you capture a better audience through live stream and more of them. And, you know, it may not be able to produce the Joyce Julius numbers or whatever, but at the end of the day, I mean, let's face it, most of the sponsors, everything are, you know, getting their best bang for the buck through social media and anything, you know, computer and phone related. And so it's a perfect fit for live stream. So I mean, that's what we do with our series. And the guy I work with, he tries really hard to make it a lot like a you know, a
fully
TV produced show. Yeah. So.
No, that's awesome. I mean, we're all in the same boat. I agree. And I also agree that, you know, the times are tough, and the exciting racing is going to give people something to watch and give something for people to do, even if they're at home and it's a Saturday. You know, it is something for people to do and not go stir crazy and not, you know, go out and do something stupid or be somewhere they're not supposed to be. So, you know, I'm all about it. I hope it all works. So I see one of the tracks there, Dirt City Motorplex. Are they going somewhere completely new this year?
Yeah, so that place got built last year, and it's a crazy story. It was basically a group of sportsman racers that got together, and they wanted to, you know, the sportsmen typically in this series, we had a few pro races that were standalone, and the sportsmen would lose one or two events. So they're like, well, what if we have our own facility, our own track, and we can put on our own races? And that's exactly what they did. A bunch of them got together. There was this piece of property, and it's literally 20 miles from my shop, and it got zoned one year to put a stock car track there, and it never went through. But the zoning and the permits were already done, and one of those guys that lived in that area, made some calls and checked around, and yeah, it was available. And the guy who owned the land is totally a race fan, and so he basically gave them the land on a super cheap lease, let them do their thing, and they turned it into this off-road facility. And when I heard what they're doing and the passion that was in it, I got involved and helped them lay out the track originally, and then when my off-road or my side-by-side series started up, that's the first place I thought of. So we were their inaugural event last year. We kicked it off, and I helped them finish the track. And it's a smaller footprint for sure compared to a lot of the tracks. It's probably comparable to some of the Lucas tracks that are smaller, so it's cool though. I mean, it's literally a club of racers all doing this, and fundraising money, and it's amazing. I mean, and I go there, I rent the track from them, and I get the gate, and they get all the food and beer, and everybody's happy in the end, and it works out great. So it's going to be a cool facility. We now that they've gotten added to the Pro Series, we've gone out there and made some changes and widened a lot of areas. And I took my Pro 4 out there last fall and ran the track and got a feel for what needed to change to actually put on a full blown race. So we're making those changes now, and it's going to be a great venue. And it's, like I said, it's 20 miles from Green Bay. I mean, even with our side-by-side race we put on last year, which was very short notice, and it kind of rained and drizzled all day. I mean, we had, I think, 2,200 spectators stand there in the rain and watch side-by-sides race. So
awesome.
It was pretty cool.
I mean, it's cool that it's that close to Green Bay, because that makes the hardest thing about Crandon, obviously for us Cali boys, is that we got to fly to Green Bay and then drive a couple hours to Crandon. That makes it super nice that it's close.
Yeah. I mean, you can literally stay in Green Bay. It's a half-hour drive to get right back downtown Green Bay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's right on the freeway. It's about the easiest thing there is to find. I mean, you watch the dirt come slinging off the top of the hill and almost hit the freeway. So it's it's a small town. It's called Lena, right? And it's smaller than Crandon. And this town is just like so behind this. They kind of adopted the going downtown and doing tech and everything, and this little town just eats it up.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's really cool.
That makes it way more fun. That's super cool that they're getting behind it and supporting it.
It's nice when a town gets into it and it's not a nuisance and everyone's picketing to shut it down.
No, that's one cool thing out there is there's nobody fighting it. I mean, most of the town is helping them do fundraisers to raise money. That it's a nonprofit, and they need money to keep it open and keep it running and make improvements. And man, they do a great job. So it's exciting.
That's awesome. So now, are you guys gonna race just Pro 4? Are you guys going into any new classes?
Well, we still got our Pro 4s. We're doing rentals now with our old Pro 4s. I have 5 of them now. So, 2 of them are obviously the trucks that CJ and I race. One is a full-time rental all season, and there's one that's a part-time rental, and the other one is just kind of a backup truck. We're pretty heavily invested in the Pro 4, and me, I've been involved in Pro 4 for so long. I just I still think it's the badass class, and you know, the biggest problem with it is, you know, it's got a bad rap. It costs too much, and you go broke, and blah blah blah. And what I've done is in our area is, you know, I find people who are interested, and you know, I'll put them in one of the rentals and then educate them. You know, show them what we do for prep, and show them what the right pieces are, and you know, because it's easy to get scared off when you look at a Pro 4 and you look at some of the teams, but it really doesn't take that. You know, it's more of a perception. So, you know, it's been pretty successful. I mean, we have 3 new guys coming into Pro 4 this year.
Wow.
That have came out of mod UTV, and it's just because I've taken them out and put them in my truck, and then they've, you know, they're from out of town, Ohio, Georgia, Florida, whatever. They'll hang out at my shop for a week, and you know, I'll show them what we do for prep and what we look at, and then they're like, this ain't so bad, you know. But if you don't know all that, it's
kind of let them
peek
behind the curtain there, and they're not so intimidated by it.
Right, and there's too many people that have, you know, I don't want to say the rich guy syndrome, but that's kind of how Pro 4 was created, was rich guys that knew nothing that wanted to be a Pro 4 badass and bought a truck, built a team, and just spent wads of money, and then went broke in a year or two and had no success. And it's because they just didn't educate themselves first, you know. And you can get buffaloed by a lot of people, you know, buying parts and developing parts, because it is a wide open class. So you kind of got to just stay grounded. There's a platform out there that works really well, and it's very reliable, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to do. But if somebody doesn't, you know, kind of walk you through that, you'll never know, and you'll spend a lot of money figuring it out.
Yeah, it's awesome. So do you feel like you're getting more and more Pro 4s to come out there and race? I know in the Lucas series right now, they had a problem last year. I'm not actually racing anymore, but watching it is obviously now that you got 3 more, does it seem like it's growing?
Yeah, it definitely is, you know, and it's 100% because of the addition of UTVs to our series, because, you know, you get into the mod UTVs, these are adults that have businesses, they have their own money, they already spend a good amount of money building these badass UTVs, and then, you know, everybody thinks they're better than the next guy, right? So they want to be the guy to win the Crandon Cup or whatever, and the only way you're going to do that probably is in a Pro 4. And you know, they start nosing around, and you start to get to know these guys, and I mean, yeah, that's why I put so much effort into, you know, pushing the UTVs and promoting it, and because it's been the stepping stone. It's actually, you know, keeping short course. I'm not going to say keeping it alive, but it's keeping it. It's giving us some growth back here, where we're not seeing that in some other areas. You know, our Pro 2 is grown in numbers, and a lot of those guys graduated out of UTV. Our Pro Light, a lot of guys came out of UTV, and then, like I said, 3 new guys this year just out of UTV and Pro 4. That's huge, you know.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have 7 trucks, you know, steady every weekend, and then you're gonna come to your Crandons and Bark River, where you get a couple guy odds and ends that only show up for those races because those are the ones they like. And I think we'll have a consistent 10 truck field at you know, at least 50% of the races, which
it's way better.
To me, that's great. I mean, we haven't seen that for a while, so you know, it's too bad you lose one every year, and you know, for whatever reason, you know, Scott Douglas retired, and you lose a couple here and there, and then it's harder to pick them up. But you know, this year we're picking up some young guys, and they already have sponsors, and they have ambition, and they're willing to take it on, and figure it out. So
It's awesome.
and like I said, I'm not afraid to help anybody, educate anybody. I tell every one of them, you know, you got problems, swing by the shop. We'll tear it apart right there. We'll show you how to work on it, fix it, split the tranny, take apart the front diff. You know, you got to learn to do it on your own. You got to be able to service it on your own, or it will cost you a lot of money. But once you do it, it really ain't that bad.
Yeah, it's awesome. So now, besides off-road racing, obviously you did the King of the Hammer. Now, do you do any other events throughout the year like the Hammers? Is there any other events that you do stand alone?
No, unfortunately not. I mean, we've actually kind of been looking into that because I see they're expanding their series. They have I don't know what they call it. They have a swing that comes this way where, you know, I think they're doing both Crandon races, and then maybe they're doing one over in Tennessee or something like that.
Yeah.
Or Kentucky.
Ultra 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ultra 4 has like different regions. So we're definitely looking at some of that, you know. You know as well I do, Casey, it's you can't just be a racer these days. You got to be more than that. And if you're just going to try to be a racer, you better do a whole lot of racing, you know. And
Times have changed, that's for sure.
Well, I wanted to touch on that for a minute too, just hear some of the cool stories. I think that's what, to me, is always fun, you know, having these conversations is hearing some of the stories, like Hammers, for example. Like what went down for you guys for your Hammers race? This year was your second year racing it, right?
Last year was our third year. So, you know, we were fortunate to kind of stumble on that Yamaha deal, and I had some connections from back in my motocross days with Yamaha, and you know they got CJ involved in the short course part of it, which has been a great program. And then, you know, they asked if we had ever entertained doing Hammers. They did it once on their own, called a semi-factory effort, where, you know, a bunch of engineers kind of put together a car and put a guy out there, and they didn't have very good success. And then they asked if we would do it, you know, and
what was your initial reaction to that?
Yeah, I think it was like September. It was like at Crandon. They said, "Hey, what do you guys think about doing Hammers?" I'm like, "Well, you know, I was there. I think the second year it ever happened. Dave Cole asked me to come out there. That's just when I lived out in California. I had a house up there. He asked me if I'd be the MC or the starting guy, and so I went out there and, you know, waved the green flag for everybody to take off in the Ultra 4 class, and then jumped on my dirt bike and rode all around and watched it. And it intrigued me then, but obviously not having any support, I wasn't going to go out there on my own. So, like I said, Yamaha came, and like in September after Crandon, they said, "Hey, would you guys entertain doing the Hammers race?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Okay, it's coming up in February." And I'm like, "You mean this one?" No, absolutely not. I said, "We'll go out there this February, and we're just going to hang out, and we're going to nose around, look at the equipment, check out the terrain, see what everybody's doing, you know, just like anything. You don't just, I mean, I don't dive in head first. First, I do some research and figure out what's what, and because I want to go there and be successful, not, you know, go out there and just look like an idiot." So we went out there that first year and just watched, and took a lot of notes and took a lot of pictures and figured out what everybody was doing. And obviously, you know, the Yamaha, it's a good machine, but it's limited to what it can do, and they don't have a lot of models like a lot of the other companies do. So you have to take the model they have and turn it into some sort of desert / rock crawling machine. And, you know, the first year we did really well, and I think, you know, that year we probably caught some people by surprise, where we built some pretty trick machines,
They're
put
flying.
turbos on them, and nobody.
You and CJ
What's
qualified first and second that year, right?
Yeah. It it was a bigger shock to us than it was to you, trust me.
They were on fire.
But, remember that year? I mean, the year before when I was out there, I nosed around, I was talking to people, and I know I walked over by you, Casey, and talked to you about your equipment, and everyone's telling me that qualifying didn't mean that much, and you really don't need turbos, and you just need to survive the race. And so we watched the race, and that's what it was. Those years, it was just survival because there was more people dropping out than ever. And we went back, and I said, yeah, but what if we could qualify first and get out in front and run in clean air and have a chance to figure this thing out before everybody catches us? And so, we built some short course / rock crawling machines that would haul ass in qualifying and hopefully perform out in the rocks. And, that year it was very limited, the amount of testing and practice we could do, because we took one ride out there with some stock machines, found out that wasn't going to work, and went back and built some stuff based on our knowledge, and extremely hard to figure out what parts to use for a Yamaha because there wasn't much available. So a lot of stuff we had to build. So it took us a long time, and, we showed up, qualified 1 and 2. We ran really good, till probably, well, you saw us, Casey, when we took the wrong turn in that, I don't remember what section that was, but we were out on that ledge and there was no way out. And, nowadays I'd look at that and I'd be like, shoot, we'll just turn around and winch over this and do that, because now we have more experience. But
yeah, without experience, it's hard to teach somebody about the hammers. Unless you go out and do it and practice, it is one of the hardest races to just go and go fast.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, that's probably one of my favorite races, just because it's incredible what you have to do. I mean, it's not only like so challenging on your equipment, but physically and mentally, it just wears you down. 3/4 of the way through, you just want to be done. You're like, I don't care if this thing can break right now, and I'm good. I'll walk back.
100% every year.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, when you first went through some of those rock canyons, like what was your opinion? Like, what were you thinking when you saw it?
Well, here's a good story. So we showed up the first time with basically stock Yamahas to test. We had some 30-inch Maxxis tires on there, and we took a ride out there. And Dave Cole happened to be out there, and he says, go over there to Chocolate Thunder and see what you think of that, And 3 years ago, Chocolate Thunder was like the easiest trail there is.
Yeah.
We went over there. We spent an hour trying to get up Chocolate Thunder, right? and we were all proud. We got back. He's like, "How'd that go?" "Yeah, we made it. We made it. So we're pretty confident." And he's like, "Yeah, 1 to 10, that's like a 2." And I'm like, "You got to be kidding me." And we're like, "Oh my God." And so, then we got hooked up with some other guys that were more experienced, and they took us out to outer limits and stuff. And we didn't even take our side-by-sides out there. We walked it and went, there is no way these cars are going through there. And he's like, "Well, you're going to have to in the race, so you better figure it out." And, that's when I figured out how real this thing really was. I mean, it's the biggest challenge you'll ever have in a four-wheel vehicle, for sure.
Yeah, for me, I'm the same way as you. Like, I absolutely I love-hate relationship with that place. Like, some years you have a good year, the next it's just terrible. You can go, well, like you guys know, the desert, you're so fast, it's so much fun. You get like 2 rock trails in, and it's like the whole world just came down on you, and you can't do anything right, and somehow a rock moved the night before, and it made it twice as hard. And that's the other part that I explaining to people is like, you get in a canyon, and like, sure, the day before it was Chocolate Thunder, everyone was driving up in almost 2-wheel drive vehicles, and then something happened that night with the hundreds of people out there thrashing on the trail, and it's like the next day it's like, oh, by the way, it's not passable. Like, you're going to have to winch to get through it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we went back to outer limits last year when we went testing, you know, because I thought that was the toughest trail. So we went straight to outer limits, and I couldn't believe how much that place changed. You know what I mean? It used to be that little section right at the very top where there's that big rock in the middle. You had to figure out left or right. Well, now it's like you're lucky if you can get to that part, you know?
Totally.
And it's like, and once you get to that part, that's one of the easier parts, because just getting there was such a challenge. So, yeah, it's exactly like you say, that there's so much activity out there, and everything moves, you know. A minute, a couple rocks move, and things get dug out, and there's new gaps, and it's like you don't even recognize it. In fact, this year when we went kind of, I don't know, remember how we dropped into outer limits kind of off the side of it or something.
Yep.
I didn't even recognize it. I didn't even know where the hell I was.
I
was like, I've never seen it like that.
Yeah, it was torn up. That's actually one of the funny, not so funny stories is that when the year you broke a couple axles, well, we passed you, and then we saw your guys like the next morning. They're like, no. When we broke, we had to go all the way back to camp, grab parts, walk back down in there, and something about you didn't get out of there till like after dark.
Oh yeah, that was last year. Yeah, I made it. I broke an axle early, pitted, changed the axle, and made a charge from the back. And I was actually in second by outer limits. And I think after outer limits, we only had one more.
Yep, one more trail
section to do. And I mean, we were like 25 miles from the finish, and I'm in second. I passed Brandon Sims, kind of got a gap on him, and we got in outer limits. And you know that one section where you got to kind of pinch between the wall and the rocks there, and you know I'm too stubborn to pull a winch, right? We get too confident sometimes, and that's where you guys are really smart about that. It's like if you get stuck and you don't get it once or twice, you winch it. Like I'll try it 10 times.
Well, that's the tough part. Like you don't want to get out and winch and waste time, but then you're gonna thrash your equipment and end up breaking something. So what's the lesser of two evils at that point?
Yeah, that's my biggest struggle is like you could run out, grab a winch and throw it around something and probably be through there in minutes, but I'll sit there and struggle for 10 minutes, you know, and I end up breaking. Yeah, I ended up breaking 2 more axles, so I was one-wheel drive. Then I can go anywhere, and I'm in, you know, so we're in second, and we had a pretty good gap, and there's nobody coming for a while, but I'm in the, you know, that's the main line up that section. There's not even many good options, and there I am stuck there, and all of a sudden the crowd starts coming. Everybody's looking at me like, get that thing out of there, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't move it. I mean, it wouldn't even. We almost yanked the winch right out of the frame trying to get out of there. I had it pinched in there so bad, and you know, by the time we finally did get it out of there, I just got it up on some flats and walked back to a pit. Got a ride back to our main pit, had a sandwich, and waited till the race was over, and we went back and put an axle in it, and you know, we still weren't going to drive out of it forward, so we ended up going all the way down. You know, no headlights. I had one little tiny light because, you know, you go, well, who needs a headlight for this race? Well, you do when you're trying to get out of there at 8 o'clock at night and it gets pitch black and you don't know where the hell you are. That was probably the scariest thing I've ever gone through at Hammers, was just trying to get back. Oh. It gets so dark and black out there, and you know, you're trying to cross cut everything. You obviously don't want to be on follow the race course back. You're just trying to figure it out. And I don't, to this day, I still don't know that terrain super well, especially in the dark.
Yeah.
So, and I'm by myself. I told the guys that were with me that helped me fix it, I'll just go to the bottom. I'll meet you guys at the top. Well, it took me forever to go down. And by the time I got back around where I thought I was at the top, there was nobody there. And, so I kind of found my way back, but, yeah, it was sketchy. I mean, it can get serious out there. That's no doubt. I mean, you don't want to get left alone out there.
Well,
No.
then if you need help, like the cell service is so spotty out there to where you can't call anybody to, come and help you.
Yeah, there was nothing. I had my phone on me and I couldn't get a hold of anybody, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to die out here. I'm just going to keep driving. worst case scenario, one of these, Army helicopters will pick me up and put me in jail or something. So.
That's so fun. And the funny thing about that is, like, Outer Limits is as far away from Hammertown as you can get and facing the wrong way. So it's pitch black and there is no light on that side.
Yeah. It was scary. I've never seen anything so dark. I mean, that's one thing that amazes me about going to Glamis or the desert or Hammertown or any of that. I cannot believe how dark it gets, how fast it gets dark. Like when it gets dark, it goes black, By us, I don't know if we have different stars or what goes on, but our nights are brighter. Like you can kind of see, but out there, man, it's black.
Yeah, that is funny you say that because, we definitely we got the smog going on for us. But for some reason, when it gets dark out there, you definitely want to be by some light.
You mentioned Glamis. Do you guys ever get out there to go play at all?
Oh, we used to all the time. I mean, that was I did all the holidays out there for quite a few years, the whole Christmas and New Year's and I don't know, all those winter holidays that everybody goes out there. And I used to love just going out there and, people watch. I think it's so much fun.
What would you take out there?
We've never seen it. Well, I started just going out there and bringing my dirt bikes out there, and then obviously you get roped in the whole sand car world, and next thing you know, I got a 4-seat sand car with a twin turbo and popping wheelies up Oldsmobile. But that place is super cool. I love that place because, we have nothing like that. There's no sand dunes in the Midwest. And so to see something like that is amazing. And like to see that many people just going crazy in every direction and, hopefully nobody dies. It was pretty amazing.
We talked about Glamis a few episodes ago, but where else do you like to go when it's just leisure, quick getaway or like a vacay as far as like other off-roading destinations and other places of interest like that where you guys go ride?
Well, around here, it's pretty much like there's trail riding in the woods, for side by side.
Never done that. That's on my bucket list.
What's that?
That is on my bucket list to trail ride in the trees.
Oh.
We just like you said, Glamis. I have never driven my Can-Am in the trees before.
We went up to Mammoth last summer, and that was the closest I've got to going in the woods and forests and stuff, and that was a blast.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw, but last year at Crandon, Colby from Method and who's his other guy? They make that book every year, the Dusty Times.
Oh yeah.
Tribute book,
Yep.
kinda, right? So they were asking if I would take them on a tour from like Green Bay up to Crandon through the trails in the woods. I'm like, yeah, we can do that, So we're arranging all this. Well, then some things got changed and delayed, and obviously, you know how Crandon goes. You got to be up there by Wednesday.
Yep.
Well, these guys weren't getting in till Wednesday. I said, well, tell you what, boys, I'll leave you a side-by-side and a map at my cottage, which is, probably 100 miles from Crandon, but there's a trail system that'll take you all the way there. And it's just a good old-fashioned, trail map for snowmobiles and UTVs. And I kind of just circled your start point and circled your finish point. And I listed all the main towns and stuff and where to stop. And I said, off you go, have a good time. And I chuckled, I kind of left it real vague because I wanted them to kind of experience it on their own, right? Not get their hand held through the whole thing. Just, you got to figure it out. And, it was so cool because, we're sitting there on Thursday all set up and it's the end of the day and I think practice had just gotten over and all of a sudden in rolls this UTV with, with Colby and his buddy, and they made it, and they had some awesome stories to tell and had so much fun, and documented the whole thing and put it in that Dusty Times edition this year.
Was it Boyd or Jason?
Yeah, Boyd. That's it. I'm
okay.
sorry.
No, because I'm like going back to the social media in my head of like I remember somebody talking about an epic UTV trip or with in your Yamaha through the deal.
Yeah, that was the deal. So yeah, I sent them on their way, and they had a great time, but they couldn't believe. They're like, man, the trails in the woods are groomed. There's bank turns. I'm like, yeah, they groom them like every 3 days. They got these big tractors with these trail groomers, and they drag them through there, and they make the trails perfect. And those guys happened to hit. It was kind of drizzly that day, so the trails were moist. There's no dust, and there's a lot of sand and black dirt, just that perfect dirt. And there's waterfalls and creeks and all kinds of cool lakes you go by, and so they had a blast.
Epic.
So how long?
Where I am now.
Dude, I want to come back there and bring my Can-Ams to go do some trail riding with you guys.
Yeah. Well, you don't even need to bring one. We got all kinds of machines. A good friend of mine owns a Can-Am dealership directly across the street from my shop, so I'm sure we could hook something up. But it's just something you'll never experience anywhere else, because these trails go. I mean, you can go 100 miles or you can go 400 or 500 miles and never see the same trail, and it's all woods, and it's just cool. I mean, there's all kinds. There's some rock trails. I mean, not like rock trails you're used to seeing, but there's some rock trails and there's sand trails, and there's some really cool wide open, they call them fire lanes, where they're roads through the woods that they put in there just in case there's forest fires. That it's like rally car racing. You're just drifting through the woods as fast as you can. It's so much fun.
So awesome.
We do it year round. I mean, as soon as we get a bunch of snow and ice, we put our studded tires on and we're back out there on the same trail.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you actually do it. Are you allowed to ride? Obviously we don't have snow trails or anything, but can you drive UTVs on like the snowmobile roads?
Yeah. So in the winter, there's certain snowmobile trails that are open to both UTVs and snowmobiles, and they're a little more limited because obviously for UTVs they got to be a little wider.
Yep.
And you meet a snowmobile coming at you, it gets a little hairy, but they're groomed, packed snow trails, and all it takes is just a little tiny studs in your tires, just so when you hit some bare spots or some ice, at least you got some traction. But it's so much fun. It's like rally car racing. You're just backed it in every corner and sideways, and just hauling ass. You're not bogging through snow. I mean, the snow is packed down. You're hauling ass on it.
That is awesome.
That sounds so much fun.
Yeah, it's probably more fun than riding in the summer. It's just, it's cold, but, our machines now, we got full cabs and we got heaters and we even got heated seats. And I mean, you're actually out there in jeans, tennies, and not even wearing gloves, and it can be like, 0 degrees out.
I actually rode the first snowmobile ever this winter, and it was freezing cold, and I was not prepared like that at all, but it was epic. Like the snow riding is so much fun, so I need to get out and do more of that stuff.
Yeah, you definitely, you need to know all the tricks to be out in the cold, especially if you're going on a snowmobile or UTV with no enclosure, but if you know all the right equipment to wear, and it's actually it's very comfortable and really enjoyable.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we never got back to where you actually go and ride. We went on a tangent there. So where's your jam when you just go out and want to go riding?
So we pretty much so our cabin is probably halfway in between Green Bay and Crandon. It's a little area called High Falls. It's near Crivets. I guess Crivets would be the biggest little town or village near here. But yeah, I mean, we're out in the middle of the woods, and I mean, we leave right out of the garage, and we're right on the trails, and that's what we do all the time. I mean, I'm on the lake, so if we're not, wakeboarding or surfing or something, we're on the UTVs hitting the trails, and there's on the trails there's signs telling you where everything is, how far you got to go, where gas is, where every mom and pop little bar and restaurant is, so it's cool. I mean, you get a group together and you go ride and you stop off at these little joints and have some food and continue on. So yeah, we got a group of probably, I don't know, 8 to 10 cars coming up tomorrow, and the trails just open again tomorrow for the first time, because between winter and spring they shut them down for 1 month. It's for the thaw, so basically let the frost get out of the ground and let the ground harden up again so you don't tear it all up. So this will be the first day that the trails are open, and so I'm sure it's going to be busy, but everybody's jonesing to do something. So,
Absolutely.
We're part of that.
That's awesome.
Now, will you guys have to carry fuel, or is there spots where you can, stop and gas up and get something to eat, get a drink, or how does that work?
Yeah, no, you can find gas and food anywhere you want. I mean, all the streets up here, you get just north of my shop in Green Bay, and pretty much every road is legal to drive a UTV on. So, you can pull off the trail and jump on a road and head down to a gas station or restaurant anywhere you want. So, but like I said, a lot of the trails will lead you right to these places, and it's more fun. I like staying in the woods. I don't even. Most people buy UTVs and they just run around on the roads everywhere. And I'm like, well, you can do that in your pickup truck. Get out in the woods. That's where it's really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, dude, we appreciate the time with you, Johnny. You've got a lot of cool stuff going on, and obviously we need to come back and drive some UTVs.
Yeah, it looks like you're going to become a tour guide here pretty soon, too.
Seriously.
Yeah. Well, you guys should definitely earmark some time on your calendar. If you're going to come to Crandon or something back here, give me a heads up, and we'll do a little monster group ride, and we can leave from my cabin and end up at Crandon, and I promise you it'll be a ride you'll never forget. It's so much fun.
Come out, participate in that race, and then stay a couple extra days and check out
we might have to put that on the calendar. So we'll definitely look at that, because that sounds epic. So, well, thank you, Johnny. We hopefully you have a kick-ass season, and man, I hope the UTV and the new organization go off without a hitch, and hopefully coronavirus gets over. I love short course. Obviously, it's my background. So, and you being a champion all those years, I hope it keeps moving on and the sport gets healthier. So,
yeah, I hear you. I appreciate that, and good luck to you. I know you're a busy man these days. You're doing a lot of stuff, and congratulations on the Dakar thing. That was awesome, man. I was following you every day and cheering and wishing I could be out there. That looks so cool.
Does Dakar sound fun to you, Johnny?
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. It's funny because Toyota brought it up to me one day. It was probably 2 years ago, and there's some team out there that I could have hooked up with, but you watch that thing, and I saw what Casey went through his first year, and it's such a struggle with communications and everything, and I'm like, man, I'm not ready for that, because I mean, obviously this year you were so much more prepared, and you had the right people and the right team, and that's when things work out, and it would be awesome to be able to shortcut straight to that. But everybody's got to go through the learning curve, so we'll see, maybe someday, but yeah, I think it's great what you guys did.
Appreciate that. Well, if you ever want to come out, to California, well, when you're out here, we'll have to go. On a side note, we can go do some road books, and we have all the equipment. So if you ever want, dude, put that on the calendar. Please come out, and I literally have road books. We have all the stuff to put in your car, and man, we can show you a good time, and you can actually that's one thing I'm all about. I'm a true believer that you got to feel it and see if it's something you like to do. And so, yeah, if you ever want to come out and try it, dude, we got everything to do the job.
Yeah. I appreciate the invite. And, we'll see where everything brings us. But, yeah, I thank you guys for having me on. It's cool, and looking forward to it.
You got it, man. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Johnny.
All right. Thank
Later,
you, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
Well, Johnny is a dude. He has done
Looks like
a
we
lot.
got some new hotspots to go check
Right,
out.
man. Every time I think we're gonna do this, I got new ideas, and my brain is firing on all 8 cylinders. So, dude, he's a fantastic guy. Him, his wife, his son. I mean, even his daughter. They do a fantastic job racing, supporting. The series, all their partners, everything they do. I mean, they are one of the best teams in the industry, and he's very family oriented. He, treats everything. He's got a lot of passion for the sport. And it's cool seeing what he's got going on. And obviously he captivated on the UTV market at a great time. I feel that what he's doing with UTVs only is something that I'm a true believer in. I think that you put the UTVs in a market where there is no other trophy trucks or Class 1 buggies or, Pro 4s or Pro 2s, and I think they can shine. So I'm a true believer and supporter. I've even told him that, man, if the schedule works out and there's open weekends, first I want to race my Can-Am in the snow. I want to go out and shred and see if that's a possibility to have fun out there when it's cold, and but at the same time come out in the summer and try some of those other races. I love racing anything, so he's got a good thing going.
Well, even as a racer himself, now putting on races, so now he's gonna putting on races from a racing perspective. I would imagine it's got to be a perfect system, right? He cares about the racing, he cares about the racers, he knows how to put on a good event. It's got to be killer. Exactly.
Yeah. So no, I think he does a great job. So, well, hopefully coronavirus ends soon. I have some more ideas on this whole podcast thing of bringing on some other racers. If you guys have any ideas out there, let us know. We want to get some more people on. We got some fun. For me, some of my friends, a lot of professional athletes out there that I want to know where they're going, what they're doing next. It's exciting to hear. And for right now, this is episode 16. Listen for episode 17 soon. Aaron and Kyle, thank you guys for joining, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
See ya.